everyone. I'm Carnes. Welcome to Living Consciously. Well, if you're interested in modern New Thought spirituality, you already know that a new cause sets up a new effect. Cause, effect is one thing. They are intrinsically tied together. They're woven together. The cause is in the effect, and the effect is in the cause. Now, when we think about setting up a new cause, we have to see that what we're doing is making a decision. We might make a decision to let go of our job and seek a new one. We're setting up a new cause. There will be effects. We might make a decision to buy a new car, a home, get married, go on vacation. All these things we understand are decisions that we make. We don't always include such things as deciding to be happy. You know, happiness is something that is a decision, and it is a cause that has effects. But when we're thinking about happiness, we usually think it's dependent on something changing in the world. In fact, people even say to me, I can't be happy as long as that stuff exists in the world. As long as there's starving children or the climate, and et cetera, there's conflict, there's war, there's violence, how can I be happy? But happiness isn't dependent on the outer world. Happiness is a very natural state of mind. It is a part of our spiritual DNA. It was present when we were born, and it's still there. The thing about happiness is it's sitting behind sadness. You know, when you're grieving, it's still there. It is a natural state of awareness that we can activate by decision. And when we do it, we set up a new series of cause and effect. Now, in New Thought spirituality, setting up a new cause, knowing the effects will follow, is a very progressive and scientific way to use what people used to call prayer. That we are declaring something to be spiritually true of us right now, knowing that by believing it, by holding it to be true, and by acting as if it were so, it will have its effects. I think a lot of people abandon the idea of happiness because they're waiting for something to happen first. Well, maybe if I won the lottery, I'd be happy, or if I had the perfect relationship, or if I lost the 40 pounds, or if this, that, and that, right? If the world were different, it has nothing to do with that. This is a very powerful thing to come to awareness about, because it can change everything. Happiness is something that belongs with us right here and right now. And you will notice that it is quite possible to be alone and be happy. Now, how could that be if it were dependent on the outer world, if it were dependent on circumstances? But it isn't. Happiness is a very spiritually mature state of awareness. It says, I am happy because I'm alive, because I exist, because I am real, because I am an expression of something wonderful. Called by any name, it is perfect. It is beauty, love, peace, joy, intelligence. Why wouldn't I be happy knowing that? That is what I am arising from. That is the cause of me. That's something to think about. There is a cause of us, and we are its effect. And as the effect of the cause, which is spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, this wonderful intelligence and perfect love, the cause remains with the effect, yes? And the effect is rooted in the cause. So it's another way of saying we're made in the image and likeness of God. It's another way of saying we are one with that creative power, that intelligence that made everything out of itself by becoming what it makes. So when we claim happiness, we're really, or it could be peace, or it could be joy, but we're really saying that which is the cause of my mind, my awareness, is active as me right now, and all that it is mine to claim. And by claiming it, I make a decision to feel, to express, to be. Now, in this case, we're talking about happiness, but it could be anything. You know, one of the great lessons I've learned in studying New Thought spirituality was that, and this kind of goes back a little bit to Catholicism. You know, they said there's an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. Well, it's another way, that's sort of a metaphor for the saying that behind anger there's love. It's there even when you're screaming and yelling and having a fit. It's there. Which is the dominant energy in us? And so if you were a young Catholic, they'd say you must listen to the angel and ignore the devil. It will tempt you. And that's just a metaphor for the ego and the real self. That we can follow that old ego right down its merry little path where it's running ahead, trying to be noticed, trying to get attention, trying to be loved, trying to be right. Or we can listen to the happy self and just be present, be available, be here now, and watch how the effects of that cause unfold. In fact, your happiness is a great gift to the world. I always remember my friend, his name was Ed, my friend Ed, who died quite young. He was in his 40s, and he died in the 1960s, but I knew him when I was a young girl, and we worked together. He was without a doubt the happiest human being I've ever encountered. And he was always that way. Now, here's what's interesting. He had Addison's disease, and he knew it. He picked it up in World War II when he was in Asia. And, you know, that's what John Kennedy had, too. And in those days, it meant an early death. There's no getting around it. That man, though, he knew he had it, but he lived full out all the time. Not in a frantic way, just in this deeply joyful, happy way. When he walked in a room, it lit up, literally lit up. You couldn't help but smile when you were around him. He was generous and he was funny. And about 3 years before he died, he won the Irish sweepstakes. And you know what he did? He quit his job and went around the world. He said, that's what I've always wanted to do, was see every country in the world. And so he did it. He did it because he was happy, not because he was fearful or anticipating death. He was just happy, right? So it's always been a great lesson to me. And I've used him as an example many times in my life when I realized that we're all facing death and we're all facing certain challenges, but we can be happy anyway. Here's a question. I've asked it before on this show, but it's a very powerful question. Think of something you really desire, and maybe in the past you've been thinking it would make you happy. Now here's the question. Can I want it and be happy anyway? There may be a little voice in there that says, no, you can't be happy till you get it. You know, that would be what we'd call normal. That's the way most of us have been taught to operate in this world, is to wait till you get what you want and then light up and then be happy. But that isn't how it really works. What really happens is if we're happy now, if we make that decision, we set up that new cause, the effects will follow, and we will find that we are different in the world, that we're a welcome presence, that we're bringing something to it. You know, the Dalai Lama has said many times, happy people are the ones that solve most of the problems because their minds are more relaxed and they're more open to creative answers. Over the years, I've noticed in Western culture, there has been an association between creativity and angst, right? You think of struggling musicians and starving artists, and they're all emotional, and, you know, this is the stereotype picture of them, that they can't be creative unless they're in angst, unless they're in pain, unless there's just like, oh my God. But actually, when you think about those times that the painting seems to emerge by itself and it's just under the brush, it's just effortless, that person is in happiness. When you think of the musician that's able to notate the music he hears in his mind, it's coming through like Mozart did, that's joy in that moment. It isn't angst that gets people there. It's surrender. And surrender to happiness is a very spiritual thing to do. It's a powerful practice because it requires that your little local ego just stop chattering, the one on this shoulder. It requires that we surrender to the real self, that we allow ourselves to be kind of taken over by it. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, love, have your way with me. You could say that about happiness, have your way with me. You know, take me somewhere. I'm ready to go. And you don't need anything added to you to be who you are. That's quite contrary to what we were taught to believe. You know, life is in Western cultures has been all about achieving, about getting, about acquiring, about attaining. And there was always a little caveat that when you do, you will be happy, or you will be fulfilled, or you will feel better about yourself. But it's backwards. It's backwards. Those states of we might call them emotional states, but they're really feelings. They are feelings that are natural to us. They're legitimate feelings. Emotions are energized beliefs, but feelings are joy, love, peace, cheerfulness. These are natural to us. They're born into us. So when those are activated, we find ourselves moving through the world in a much easier way. So it isn't about getting, it's about noticing the effects that follow the cause that you have set up. So can you decide to be happy? Absolutely. You know that wonderful old song that comes from the Rastafarians, don't worry, be happy? That's a profound teaching. And it really means happiness subsumes worry. And worry never solved anything. You know, I know people say, well, if I'm not worried about it, I won't do anything about it. Really? That's not true, is it? No, it's not true. So happiness gives us an open field in our mind. When you think about it, if you're just filled with happiness, you're not worried about anything. But you deal with your life, but you're dealing with it from a different energy than fussing and fuming and fighting and conquering. You're dealing with it from the energy of just allowing and accepting and believing and knowing that that which you are here to express is already active in you, as you, and it's yours to do with as you will. Now that's something to think about. It's very, modern New Thought spirituality kind of turns everything on its head, if you will. But it's also ancient wisdom. This teaching didn't arise in a vacuum. It didn't occur to somebody suddenly. No, it's the golden thread that runs through all teachings, but has been kind of buried in a lot of them. Why would that happen? I don't know. You could make up all stories about why. It's easier to oppress people if they don't know who they are and they don't know where the power is. But we won't go there today, because today we're happy. So, can we make the decision to be happy no matter what? Yes, we can. And in the next half, we're going to talk about how that shifts us from being so future-oriented and able to live more in the present moment. But right now, we're going to take a little break. We have some wonderful sponsors, and we want to thank them in advance for supporting us and supporting this station. So take a listen, come back. There's more to know.
Is your treasured dining room table in danger? Don't let scratches, spills, or hot plates ruin your beautiful dining table. Table pads are normally hundreds of dollars, but right now you get a custom table pad for only $69, an unheard of price. Our table pads are hand upholstered, just like the ones Grandma had.
Call now to order your custom table pads for only $69 and receive a $30 protective storage bag free. Call 800-631-9229.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the secret war, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the secret war free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
All right, welcome back, and thank you to our sponsors. Well, we were talking in the first half about making a decision to be happy. Can you do it? I know the local mind says, whoa, wait a minute, doesn't something have to happen first? But when you really look at it, no. Happiness is something we're very familiar with if we just allow ourselves to let it rise up in us. And there's some things we can do to support that. One of them is meditation. You know, meditation on a daily basis creates an open field, or like a space in our mind. And what that means is all of the chatter of the local mind, the ego, all the ordinary everyday thoughts we have kind of slow down. So there's space in between them. And what happens? Happiness rises up. Happiness comes through those spaces. You know, one of the things meditators say, and a reference to someone who meditates regularly, is that they are happy for no reason. And people always laugh when they hear that because it's so counter to what we've been taught. You have to have a reason to be happy. No, you don't. Happiness is a state of mind that puts us in this moment. Now, living in this moment is extremely important, and that's a real serious practice, and I'm not saying it's easy. But when we're supported by meditation and by affirmative thinking and by the awareness that we can decide to be present now just as we can decide to be happy, then it's a little easier. But it does take some mindfulness. Now, we're not talking about living for the moment. No, we're talking about living in the moment. And if we're living in the moment as that happy person, then the moment is replete with possibility. We're bringing an open mind to it. We're bringing a cheerful expectation to it. And we're seeing through the ego dance of everybody around us and ourselves. And when we see through it, we can have compassion. And we can use our happiness to simply radiate acceptance of other people. You know, we're always presenting ourselves to the world, and it's an energetic. We're energy systems, and there's a vibration. And just like in the first hour, I told you about my friend when he walked in the room, everybody smiled, and the whole place lit up. It was his energy and his vibration and his personal happiness that was projecting itself out into the room. So we know that our minds are linked to the past and the future. That's natural. We have the capacity to remember the past, and there's some use in that. Not as much as we thought, but yeah, we want to remember, you know, who we're related to, and and it's nice to recall certain aspects of your childhood and that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's his story, her story. It's a story. But we're more concerned with the future, but we don't want to just be there too much either. But the future comes from now. There's no denying that. Even the past isn't real either. It's happening now in our mind. That's why we want to clear it. But the future is happening now because our state of mind right now, whether it's happiness or worry or anger or conflict or joy or love, is cause. And it has effects that follow it. Cause is in the effect is in the cause. So in this now moment, we are creating our future. and then the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. That's how it works. So mindfulness really means in the sense that we're mindful of what we're doing with this creative mind right now. Are we bringing a full self to it, or are we projecting, or are we in the past? I was talking to someone the other day, a young woman who was telling me how really angry she got. Some people were smoking cigarettes outside of her store. And I said, "Why'd you get so upset?" She said, "Because they wouldn't move." So that's called projection. You're projecting onto the scene something you're bringing to it, because there's many ways to react to that. You could just close your door, or you could say, "I really appreciate it if you'd move on." But to get all angry and headed up, I don't know what that saying is, heated up, is a decision that we don't make consciously but was made previously. And the decision was, anger is a good way to respond to things I don't like. Well, what about happiness? Why can't you decide to bring happiness into the moment and let it do what it does? Right? So a lot of the time, when we're not really present, we're bringing the past into this moment. And if we're in fear, we're bringing the future into this moment. We're afraid of what's going to happen. If we're really present now, we bring happiness. This is another biggie. In this now moment, right now, there's nothing to worry about. In this now moment, you are happy. In this now moment, that's where love is. In this now moment, not tomorrow, and not in the past, which is no longer real. Now, in this now moment, this is the great lesson. And as I said before, it's not particularly easy to practice, but if you know how important it is, you're more likely to pull yourself back. That's the thing I've learned about spirituality and as a meditator, is that someone made this analogy. It's like a rubber band. If you stretch it, it never goes all the way back. So you never revert back to all your old tricks or your old beliefs. They may come up occasionally, and then you say, "Oh, there's that old one again. I see you trying to get my attention." Well, on the right, which shoulder, right? I see you. And that kind of detachment is an effect of regular meditation. It puts a little space between the impulse to act and the actual response or reaction. Puts a little bit of space there, which is all most people need to make the decision to respond to the whole self, to respond from love, from peace, from joy, from cheerful expectation, from creativity, from ideas, rather than react to the stimulus that seems to be coming at us. And then it just escalates. In fact, my young friend, when she was talking to me about the situation outside of her store, she said, "Oh my God, it just escalated." I said, "That's because you participated. It escalated because you got into it," right? It's like that wonderful Irish saying, "Is this a private fight or can anybody get into it?" And when you get into it, you escalate it. You make it real. And then your body has reactions. And then, and if you keep doing this, if this is the way you operate in the world, that your body's going to break down. You cannot be angry all the time and be healthy. They don't go together. The body needs open spaces so that it can do what it's naturally meant to do, which is to keep itself tuned up, tuned in, and keep itself in that matrix of wholeness. Imagine what a happy mind does to your body. Just take a second and think about it. It's a tune-up. It really is. The little cells just love it when we're radiating happiness. I love Dr. Bruce Lipton's work. He's a biologist. I mention him from time to time because I think his work is very important. And if you don't know who he is, Googleize him. I get on the internet and put Dr. Bruce Lipton. He wrote a great book called the Biology of Change, or I forget what it is now. But it was about how thought creates inner states physically in our body, and actually thought is instructions to the cells and they behave accordingly. So it's very important what you do with your mind, because it is the center of cause. Mind is cause and mind is cure. And in the mind is where everything starts. Everything begins in consciousness. Everything begins in awareness. Everything comes from the mind and what we are holding to be true in it and what we are thinking in this now moment. You can't get around it. It's just absolutely true. You can put it to the test. So decide today to be happy. Just say it. I've made a decision. I am a happy person. I live from this moment on in happiness. And I allow myself to really feel it with nothing added to me. Nothing has to happen. Say this out loud. Nothing has to happen first. Nothing has to happen first for me to be happy now. Nothing needs to be added to me for me to be the whole being I've always been, made in the image and likeness of the one life that made the whole universe out of itself by becoming the universe, right? So this is what we teach and learn at the Mesilla Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I've been doing this for 30 years, studying it for 40. It has literally changed my life, and it can change yours for the better too. Not difficult, in fact, endlessly fascinating subject. And science is starting to catch up to it. So if you would like to know more, you can get on our website. It's right under our little logo here, mvcsl.org, Mesilla Valley Center for Spiritual Living.org. You can also get on my website, carolcarnes.com. I send out a daily email blog called Living Consciously, which I put up on Facebook every day. It's public, and which goes to the California Free Press every day. And these shows can be seen on YouTube. So tell your friends, if they don't live in Las Cruces, they can still watch them on YouTube. All right, so it's under Living Consciously, and we'd love to have you join us. Otherwise, come back and see us on Saturday on the Las Cruces channel. All right? So we also accept donations. We are a nonprofit, 501(c). You can access that through PayPal on our website. And you can get my book on lulu.com, my little book called The Way In. It's a series of daily messages, kind of like what we did today, but a little bit shorter. So that's it for us today. I'd love to see you next time. In the meantime, decide to be happy and stay tuned in.